and welcome back to another episode of Authentically Divine. I'm your host, as always, Alyssa Davis. And this week, the featured product of the week is actually two things. We have Inner Sense. I don't know if you're familiar. Inner Sense is a clean brand, and they have hair oil, they have conditioner, shampoo, and they have a bunch of hair products, but I put blonde into my hair every now and again, so I like to use Inner Sense a toning purple shampoo and their toning conditioner. And they are clean ingredients. There's only one bad ingredient in this, as opposed to the products in purple shampoo. They're really toxic. So I do choose to use a cleaner product in this case, and Inner Sense, and I really love they actually are sold on Amazon. I have a credit card for 5% back on Amazon purchases, so I always use that. But this week, I'm going to be sporting a new little cute bracelet my sister made me for the Authentically Divine, and I'm going to zoom in because it's so cute. She makes bracelets for festivals that she goes to, so I'm definitely going to have her jump on my bandwagon here and make me a couple bracelets. And if this becomes a thing, which I think bracelets really are a thing, I might have to have her make us some. So we'll see. But I'm going to zoom in, and it's going to be funny, but I'm going to zoom in and see. Let's see. Up close and very personal, but this is I'm going to move my hat out of the frame. And she has little hearts on them. It's so cute. But yeah, shout out to my sister for making that cute bracelet for me. And I also have been sporting a new little bracelet that I found in my bag of hair ties. I have a whole bunch of ponytails and hair ties from back in the day when I was a kid. And I found these, and it's so cute. And it's so cute and has Winnie the Pooh on it, so I've been sporting that lately. She could use a little wash, but she's cute. So those are my little accessories for the week. But a little kind of like weekly recap aspect. It's nearing the end of summer for me. I spent today is Sunday, I spent all day in the Word. I slept in, got some rest. My little baby, she hopped up here a couple times. She is now wearing diapers to bed because she's an old lady. She needs some assistance in that way. And I had to wake up this morning and take care of her because she had peed in the bed. And I just love my little dog. And I take good care of her. She's like my elderly citizen that I take care of, my grandmother essentially, but in dog form. I bathe her like multiple times a week. She has helped change my patience level from having 0 to having all, because it's not her fault for the struggles. And, God will have things happen in your life where you have to go through something to learn the lesson. And I had no patience, and my dog is nearing older age. So it's kind of a big thing for me to learn how to take care of, her additionally. And I think truly it's probably in preparation for when I have kids one day is, there's going to be sleepless nights. There's going to be times I'm waking up in the middle of the night or in the morning when I want to be sleeping, and just recognizing that who I'm taking care of, whether it's my dog or my future children, if God will allow for it, that I'm going to be the one in control when the people I'm taking care of can't be, because they're going to be relying on me. So I have to change my attitude about everything. And I don't know if anyone else can really relate to something like that. I'm sure you can, but that's been my life lesson as of lately. So it's really interesting, but it's been fun. It's been a little ride here, but I posted recently on my Instagram, and this is recently meaning August of 2024. You're going to be hearing this at a separate time, but in August 14th, 2023 is actually when I had stopped drinking alcohol altogether, completely removed it from my life. God delivered me from that after having what I believe was partial addiction because of the way that it would make me feel, and He delivered me from that. And I had spoken about the fact that God had delivered me from this, and I've been free. And I had a lot of people ask me questions about this. So, I guess I could say 1 year sober, 1 year free from alcohol, and I've been celebrating just the enjoyment of life and peace. And I had spoken about God and how God changed everything. So a lot of people were messaging me saying that they were, looking to do that for themselves as well. And I thought that was amazing. I love to hear people say something like that what I've done is inspiring them, because this is the purpose of this podcast overall. It has nothing to do with me. It's truly just every trial and tribulation and things that I'm learning in my life. I feel that it is my direction, my purpose to share what I've done so that others can have that same feeling of freedom and that same feeling of knowing that they're doing something right, they're on the right path. And of course, speaking about God when all my friends and the people that I know truly do not believe, it's difficult. It's bringing further awareness to the fact that I didn't just one day decide to drop alcohol and I could walk away from it. It was having so much faith and belief that God will strengthen me and push me to my limits and boundaries and strengthen me to the point that I no longer need to feel weak and turning to that as a vice, but yet turning to Him instead for that strength. In Buffalo, not a lot of believers step forward. I know a few, and I'm really proud of them for having done that. And I posted about being sober for a year and how that has strengthened me, and that's God working through me. And I had some questions, and I really just wanted to talk about and make this whole episode be about faith for beginners, because I can speak to that. I'm still a beginner. I'm what they refer to as a baby Christian. I am fresh out the womb of Christianity, and I'm just starting my path. And of course, I did share my testimony prior to this point where I had talked about, my encounters with God and how my past had been, where my mother used to take us to church every Sunday. And at one point, she stopped forcing us. We got to teenage years, and I started to rebel against the direction of my family. And I started to choose to put myself more into the world and separate myself from church, separate myself from God. And even when I was younger, I didn't have a direct relationship with God. So now that I do, I want to speak to that so that if you are listening to these things, if you've listened to the other episodes, I just want you to know that that is not just me solely on my own. These things are recognizable through the power of God. So I want to share about it, obviously. But I spent all day today in the Word, listening to gospel music, spending time in nature, and that's truly my favorite thing. And being a Sunday, of course, resting and enjoying God's presence. And it's a beautiful thing when you start to have faith. So I do want to encourage, as I always do, to be involved with God, because your life will transform in ways you yourself could never have imagined. And although I'm currently recording this and I'm working a full-time job, I am still having so much grace and peace and happiness in my life that I've never had prior to this point. So, of course, I'm going to continue to share. But as I mentioned, when I was younger, I didn't have a personal relationship with God. So the point that I'm making with that is where you want to start. God, if you've never heard this, I'm gonna kind of go with the flow here and explain everything, but God is our Father, capital F. He is above all. He knows everything. He is everywhere at all times. He is the all-knowing. And with that, His arms are always open, waiting for you to come to Him. And that was the coolest thing so far that I have started to know and start to understand regarding who God is and His character. He is the Father that you run to in times of desperation, in times of sadness, happiness, gratefulness, being upset, being frustrated, angry, anything. He has His arms wide open and He's waiting for you. We are the children of God. So therefore, He treats us like a father. He gives us guidance. He gives us love at all times. He is forgiving. And a lot of the time, people have tough relationships and view God in a certain way because of the way that which Christians nowadays run the world. And I want to go into details about that, but I'm just going to preview it right now. But as I was saying about God having open arms for us, He is our Father. He is, and if you have a bad relationship with your father, your on earth father, like your dad, I can relate to that. I did at one point have a bad relationship with my father. So I just am going to take away everything that you believe about your dad, or whether it be good or bad, and just listen to the way that our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. So our Father, who art in heaven, who He resides in heaven, so He is above all. He is seeing us in the bird's eye view. You zoom out, and He can see every little piece of every person on earth, because He was the one that created humanity. He created earth. He created the air. He created the sun, the moon, the stars, the water, everything. Every living, breathing thing that is on earth, He created. And it goes back to Adam and Eve, which I'm sure if you are familiar at all with the Bible, that's where it starts. Is Adam and Eve in the garden. They are naked. They are not ashamed, as God created them as naked human beings, and they roamed the earth with His creation. And that is the beginning. That's the core beginning. And from the very beginning, God has always loved us. He has always said that we are His children. And just knowing and understanding that to have a relationship with God, that's a big thing. People are like, how do I even get started? And that's why I'm here today. I want to say, if you are wanting to form any sort of relationship with anything, whether it be a person or a favorite new activity, you have to start to do the activity. Let's talk about the reference to having a relationship with someone. If you are wanting to have a relationship with someone that you've never met before, or you see someone like at a coffee shop, or you meet the love of your life out, and you want to start a relationship with them or a friendship with them, you have to establish a relationship. So it's a working relationship. You tell them about yourself. You tell them about your favorite color, your favorite this, your favorite that. You sit with them, or you text them, you message them, but you are creating a form of communication with them. So that is the first step with God. Now, I emphasize starting your own personal relationship with God, because that is what is changing in our churches and everything now is, and I can speak to it myself. I wish that someone had told me when I was younger. I mean, I don't know how much I would have absorbed it, but if you are choosing to now be a Christian, my best recommendation is to have a good working relationship with God, and to speak to Him, and to sit and spend time with Him. And in the churches that I have gone to when I was younger, they didn't emphasize that. It was reading from the Bible, not really explaining it very thoroughly or a way that one could relate. And, people are in different timelines in their lives. So when I was hearing this as a kid and we're reading these really big, in-depth words in the Bible, which definitions were not provided, it was very confusing for me. I would say that the most important part is to understand that God has His arms waiting for you, open and ready and willing at all times for you to just say you love Him, for you to just come to Him. And I'm getting a little teary-eyed because it's as easy as that. And I know a lot of people, including my younger version of myself, that could have used that. So at any point in your life, whether you are in a happy time, whether you're in a sad time, whether you are really struggling and you just feel like no one's relating to you, you can't talk to your friends about this, you can talk out loud and talk to God in your time alone. And who cares if people think you're strange? I talk out loud to God, whether I'm in a car, whether I'm at home. My time with God is me speaking out loud sometimes. And I've heard other people say that as well. You can, if you wanted to, you can just sit in your mind and say these words and talk. But it's all just because it all starts with an established relationship of you talking to God and you claiming to love God and, God, I just really need you right now. And I've heard other people's testimonies where they're like, if God is even real, like, can you show yourself? Can you talk to me? Can you bring yourself forward? I need a sign. I need this. Just know that you don't need a sign to know that God exists. But your cries, your laughter, your happiness, everything is heard. Everything that you are putting out into the world, God is hearing. And He's an everlasting Father. He will always forgive you. He is always looking to you to come to Him. And because He's already waiting there. It's like as if, your friends have an appointment or a reservation for you at 8:30 and they're there at 8:30. Or they're there early. They're there at 8 o'clock and they're just sitting there waiting for you. And you come late. You come early, you come late, you come tomorrow, you come the next day, you come 10 years from now. God has been waiting in that chair at the table, waiting for you to come. He's always waiting for you. Because He loves you. He created you. It doesn't matter how far away you feel. And when I was sinning like crazy, when I was going out into drinking and blacking out, and, God saw it all. And He still loved me. And I am new because I came to Him and my heart has been transformed. And Jesus took away all of my sins. And I've chosen a new path. But that can happen for you too. It's as easy as just starting a relationship and getting to know God and sharing genuine time with Him. So that was the point of creating an established relationship. You do want to sit and spend time and have silence. And a lot of the world, and I'm going to keep saying the world, it's the way that everything in our country, in other countries, is operating. It's this, scroll, ADHD mind, focus on this, that, the other, all at once. And then, you're supposed to be making money. You're supposed to be making thousands of dollars. You're supposed to be paying rent. You're supposed to be paying for groceries that cost $300 a month rather than, or $300+ a month. And then you're supposed to take care of yourself. You're supposed to spend time with, you're supposed to be working your full-time job. Yes, I know that all of that is chaos. But I want you to know that you can find refuge in the time that you spend with God. And I just want to sit with that for a second. Because for so much of my life, I have been go. And even when I had first started to date my boyfriend, he mentioned, he's like, you never relax. You just keep going until I crash. And maybe it could be attentiveness, maybe with how fast I'm talking. But I sit, and I mentioned before in my habits episode, I sit and I spend time in the Word with God in the morning. And I pray to Him in the morning. And then, my days off, I spend time in the Word, which I'll explain in a moment. But I spend time with God and I sit and have an established relationship with Him. And 3 hours today went by in a flash but it didn't feel like it. I was calm and relaxed. And time with God is it's peace that so many of us are yearning for and cannot find it. And that is why I want to just keep emphasizing this. I was searching for it, and we all search for it in vices, in things that do not fulfill us, drugs, alcohol, our phone, our habits. Some people get addicted to working out. All of that is missing our core self, which is in part 2. It's the Holy Spirit, our spirit. People always reference, especially with New Age spiritualism, everyone's referencing soul mates, soul this, soul that. There is an emphasis on soul, but we're missing the point that spirit, our Holy Spirit, our spirit that connects us with God, is missing. We can say soul all we want, but if we're not understanding that it's not fulfilling our spirit, what we're doing is lacking everything that fills our spirit. That's why today's society is so empty and so broken and so sad and so depressed. We are really far away from God. And I emphasize this because the closer you get to God, the closer and the better you have a relationship with God, you don't feel that anymore. That's why you can drop the vices. That's why you stop running back to places that hurt you. That's why you can stop running to people that hurt you. That's why you can find fulfillment in just sitting and spending time with God. And yeah, it might not be the most popular thing. You're not going to get a million likes on Instagram for not going out and drinking or not partying and not doing what everyone else is doing, but your whole entire spirit is filled with love, endless love. It literally is like, if I could just describe it to you, it's this like brightness inside of your body that it just, like, I feel it in my chest. It's in my heart. It just explodes everywhere. And everywhere I look, I just see the world differently now because I have an established relationship with God. And everyone can have this. That's why I want to share this. This is the most uplifting episode. I do hope that it is, because it is something so sacred to my heart. As always, everything that I speak about is coming from the heart. And I was struggling with this tonight. I was, it's like past 9:30 p.m. Normally I record where I have natural light. I'm using a couple of lights in my living room, and I was like, man, I'm kind of tired right now, but I should really just, I was getting stressed. I'm like, what if I say something wrong? And here I am. God is just speaking through me, and I've been feeling that this is an episode that I want to do. And then people were messaging me about, how to get started in faith and what, it's just, it's so exciting for me. And this is why it's just lighting me up to talk about God. And it's not about me. It's just that I am a vessel for him to work through so that I can get the word out and that I can get this understanding to people that may not know the direction to take their life, and they're searching for this happiness, this joy that cannot be obtained with any of the things that are outside of God. The only one that can fulfill fully is God. And it's truly a gift that I'm able to say this. But in this episode, as this is my platform, I will say, if you are feeling you are missing anything at all, or you just keep running back to the vices, you keep running back to the people that hurt you keep running back, and you're constantly running, you're constantly looking in all up and down, high and low, left and right, and you just feel empty, you feel left out, you feel lost in your life. I encourage you to see that God is waiting for you, because that's the answer. That's the one and only answer that can be given to fix everything. It's God. And that's why our country is so saddened and hurt and broken, and so many people have hate in their heart, from high government officials down to just regular citizens. There are people that just have so much hate in their heart because they don't know God. And you can see it when you are on this side, when you understand that everything is spiritual and God is associated with everything and anything. It's darkness versus light everywhere. You understand that what that missing piece is for everyone that is not involved with God is that it's God is missing from their life. So I really hope that today's episode is something that you may think about in the future, or you may carry with you in your back pocket. And people have been saying to me that I have this glow about me. And I'm here to tell you, and I've heard the Girls Gone Bible say this too, it's the Jesus, it's the God glow. This is not from anything I've done other than have faith in God. And yeah, I still have acne. I still have, I still go through my luteal phase and where I'm really puffy and bloated and feel disgusting. But I have this, people are recognizing I have what's called a glow. And it's not because I've done anything other than just put my life and give my life to Christ. So you can have this, you can have the God glow too. Everyone can have it. Everyone can change their hearts. Everyone's hearts can be changed from hatred to love, peace, and happiness. Everyone's idea of life can change, and you can start to see the world for what it is and start to rely on God more. So I encourage you to sit and have a relationship with God, first and foremost. Then we'll move on a little bit to the second part is I encourage you to understand God and to get to know God. So that working relationship, first and foremost, sit, spend time. This is where you can speak and confess and tell God everything, although he knows everything. But, this is where you are establishing from your end the relationship. And to further have a relationship with someone, you want to understand who they are, right? So let's say it's a new friend. Let's say you're even learning a new skill set, or you are building something new. If you are trying to find a relationship with someone new, you're going to want to know who they are. So you're going to want to read their words, like if they're texting you. You're going to want to start to see their character build. You're going to see, ask those hard questions, and you're going to just, start to get to know them. They're going to tell you the timeline. And that's what a perfect, good, authentic relationship is you give everything to them, they give everything to you. So that's what you'll find in God and your relationship with God, because he knows everything. And in a perfect world, that would be what everyone does, is you give all of you and they give all of themselves to you. So if that doesn't help to encourage you, I don't know what will, but I'm going to tell you that God gives you his all as well at all times, 24/7. So there is not a single moment of the day that he is not there for you. The next part to learn about him, to have an established relationship with him, or if you are learning a new skill set or you're building something, you want to learn and read the instructions, right? I mean, if it's something totally new, you don't know how to build it, you don't know how to start the business, you look at the instructions. So we're going to do both analogies just to make it a little bit more understanding here. God's word, which is your handy dandy Bible. Now, mine is the Holy Bible King James Version, and this is the Holy Grail, of course, if you don't know. But that is the way that you can understand and get to know God's character throughout history. Who God is, what he stands for, what he allows, what he doesn't allow. And if we're looking at the analogy of building something, those are the instructions. He tells you point blank, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. And then you see it play out in history with how people, regular people, they are sinners, how they listen or they do not abide by God. So that is the second thing. So first, we're going to recap here. First, an established relationship with God. Just sit and spending the time with him, confessing, talking, getting out who you are, your hopes, your goals, whatever you want. But just however you want the relationship to be, sit and spend the time. Second, my next best recommendation is to read the Word and get to understand God for who he is. And, there's a couple different sources too to help, but I'm going to go over that next. Really reading the Bible. So what I did was I had asked a couple of people that I respected in my life and said, where do you start to read the Bible? I had a couple of different opinions. And so I do kind of jump around. And for me, it's been working really well is I have been reading front to back. I'm in the middle right now. And I've had a couple months. I spend every day reading it. But I also do jump around. Like, I will jump around. I know Psalms has different prayers for different reasons. So you could always, if you're listening to this, you can always go into Psalms if you are feeling you just want to read prayers and see, they're short, sometimes they're a little bit longer, but those would be encouraging for you to read if you need to and feel that you need to start a prayer to speak to God. Reading from the beginning to get to know God, to get to know how he established the earth, what it was that he did to create everything. That's what I did. And I've been learning so much. And then a couple of people, my grandma had actually said to start reading John first, which is the New Testament. And New Testament meaning it is when Jesus is in the Bible, which is great. Can't wait for you to get to know Jesus. But the Old Testament is when Jesus was not here. It's BC, before Christ. So that was what it was. But my grandma had recommended John, so this is one you could start as well. The book of John talks about how much God loves us. And I can even go into one just to give you a couple of bits of understanding. The first book of John, chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word, so the Bible, which we know, the Old Testament, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So just emphasizing the fact that every single thing you saw on earth was made by God. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. John talks about everything related to the love of God and how Jesus is God. So that was really interesting. But mine, I'd kind of jump around, I'm reading in sequential order, but I also know that there are some chapters in the Bible that can be applied for whatever season I'm in. My favorite verse, this is one of my favorite verses, and it feels so good to say it because I memorized it. So it's Ephesians 6:12-13. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of the world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, so that ye may be able to stand in the evil day, having done all to stand. And so I feel good because I like that one a lot. It talks about using the understanding that God is the protector. He's our Father. He will protect us against all evil. And that one represents speaking about the power of God and how he gives you the capacity to fight and ward off any bad spirits and negativity and anything, because he gives you all of his armor. And so that was really cool. So if you want to read that one, if you're having any difficulty with negativity, people being rude to you and just feeling lost, put on your armor of God. That could mean putting on your armor of God before you speak about God the way that I am. It could mean, you're about to stand in front of a bunch of people at work and maybe you're going to be talking about getting a raise. Put on the armor of God. Just know you're protected, no matter what circumstance you're under. The next thing, so we have establish a good relationship with God, read the Bible. The other opportunities that you have is to listen to gospel music, watching sermons. I love Philip Anthony Mitchell. I also enjoy watching podcasts, Girls Gone Bible. For some, I'm going to recognize Girls Gone Bible, the George Janko Show. A couple of those are pretty good. Happy and Healthy podcast, and Stay True. And those are a couple different ones that I really enjoy watching to just emphasize and further talk and feel like I'm relating to people. Because again, I don't have a lot of friends here in Buffalo that talk about God. So this is where I can find a relationship with people and understand a couple of things. So that's something that I would encourage you to do. if you are wanting to further have your attention be brought to God throughout the day instead of watching a drama TV reality show, or instead of watching football, or instead of, maybe you're a guy listening to this, maybe turning off the sports and watching a sermon. But spending time and watching people play out their lives and their messages, and that could be another good avenue for you. I've been listening to gospel music and music that I used to listen to as a kid. The Veggie Tales, if you have children, I don't know if they play those anymore, but those were my favorite in Sunday school. So playing Veggie Tales might be a good one for your kids or even for yourself. I kind of want to start watching this after I record. That's a good thing. Singing and just having that faith, and instead of putting your time into things that are negative or could cause an emotion or evoke an emotion that you don't like, what I have been doing since I become a devout Christian is I have put on those types of things instead to further my understanding of the Bible, further understand ways I can strengthen my relationship with God, and things, just emphasizing further my love for Him. And you can't go wrong. You can never do enough to just keep spreading the love that you have for God. So that's the type of thing that I do during my day, other than, reading the Bible, sitting, praying, establishing a relationship with Him and getting to know Him, but also like hearing people speak about how great He is. It just further emphasizes it. And especially if you're new, this is my hope, is to listen to this and, hey, here's some options for you, And I really love listening to the podcast and the people that talk about the Bible and go into it, read the Word. God will tell you things. God will speak to you. God will give you encouragement, and your own relationship with Him will help you to understand things. He wants you to be informed. And He gives us gifts of discernment, which is, just understanding life and people a little bit more than the average person, where little cues and things like that, or just sensing it. Or the gift of prophecy, where you are able to understand, He'll come to you in dreams of things that will happen in the future. You're not asking for it. You're not, especially it's going to be a new skill set. You're working a new muscle, and finding a way to strengthen your relationship with God. Those are just the things I've done. I encourage you to find things that will make you feel better, like going to church too. I was church shopping. I was trying to find a church. I have yet to feel that I found a good church for me to set my feet into and be placed there permanently. But you don't need church to be your main priority to have a relationship with God. And I think back in the day, church was just something that everyone did because everyone was like, okay, if I don't go to church, God will not like me. And I'm saying that because of the way that the world used to be, is even in my life, we went to church and I didn't have a good relationship with God. So establishing a good relationship with God is first and foremost. And if doing that is by going to church, I encourage you to do that. You may do these things in all different order, but those are just some outlets and choices that you can do to get to have a good relationship with God. And it's been working wonderfully for me, and that's why I want to share it. So don't think of this as a rigid direction, none of which I'm saying is a rigid direction. It's just what I encourage because it's been working for me. Find your niche, find your way to have a relationship with God. But I do want to make sure He always has been waiting for you. If you haven't seen Him in 10 years, if you haven't seen Him ever in your life, He will be there for you. So that's where the importance is. But the other aspect is there's a lot of definitions and things in the Bible, things you're going to see or hear from if you start to listen to podcasts, if you start to hear people talking about God. There's some definitions and things that may be confusing, that I have found confusing and I've heard people talk about, and I want to just go into some details so that you can apply the definitions to the concept. Where I struggle, if I don't know the definition of a word, how can I apply it to a sentence properly? I'm big on grammar. I'm big on understanding the depth at which a word can be used and the strength of the word. Some terms you may hear while listening to the podcast, you may hear or read in the Bible. Evangelistic or evangelism. And what that is seeking to convert others to Christianity. So someone can say, I didn't think I would be an evangelistic person. And I've heard that before. And that just means, talking about God. And I'm being an evangelistic person right now. I am doing an evangelistic activity. I'm creating a podcast speaking about God. And I would love if people convert to Christianity, but that's the main goal, is just to talk about God and, let it stick so that you know how much love is filled because of the fact that he exists in my life. Season is another one. I'm in this season of my life. I'm in a single season. I'm in a married season, or this season was really hard. I can't wait to see the next season. I can't wait to be in the next season, this. And I was like, I kept hearing it on podcasts. Like, people were just talking about it in different episodes. And I'm like, what? Like, who references time like this? And then I realized that it's in the Bible, and people reference time as different times in their life as a season. And I realized that season is defining a certain time in your life or a certain time frame and referring to it as a season. So you may hear people saying that. This is a good opportunity for me to say, when I say worldly, the world, which you've heard me refer to, the world is those that walk without faith. And in the Bible, it specifically talks about not being a part of the world in the Bible. So I want to read Romans chapter 12, 2 through 3. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. What that is entailing is, be not conformed to the world. That's the first part. Be not conformed. So although something is a structure, some sort of system, it does not mean that it's right. The world is creating that system and that structure. So be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The renewing of your mind meaning the renewal of your faith, your soul, your spirit with God. So that is that aspect there. If you do hear anything of the world, it's just referencing the outside of your relationship with God. So when I was saying in my sobriety episode, how I was saying, like, I'm not being of the world, I am doing things differently, it's because the world and the way that it is understood is that is basically that group think. When you do not conform, when you do things differently and you follow God, you are not conforming and you're not a part of what the world is doing, the direction that the world is in. And that's why I do reference the world, because the world is not all powerful the way that God is, where you can get that strength and understanding from him and that peace. So another one was devout, which I did mention earlier. I said I'm a devout Christian. I heard this, someone's testimony that I had watched. But devout meaning having or showing deep religious feeling or commitment. So if you are devout for your faith, that means you have, you're following and doing everything as you should by the book as much as possible. You have a committed relationship with God and you are doing everything that he is saying to do. Another aspect is if you ever hear someone say Messiah, which I've been watching The Chosen, they talk about Jesus being the Messiah. They talk about it in the Bible, but Jesus is the Messiah. It was prophesied in scripture back in the Old Testament for Jesus to be the Messiah, and it is Jesus Christ, so it is the leader or the savior of a group. So Jesus is the Messiah for the world. if you ever hear Yahweh, Yahweh is an interesting one. So it means God. And Yahweh is the sound that which your in breath and out breath make. Yeah. Yahweh, it's just the air that flows. He is the breath of life. And that is where that stems from. So if you ever hear anyone saying Yahweh, he's life. He is God. And Yahweh is that in and out breath and the sounds that which it makes. So that's really interesting. And I thought that was one of the coolest things I've ever heard. But if you're new to Christianity and hearing that, then I'm glad you're here. I did want to just say something too. While this whole entire episode is about having faith and being a Christian, I want to remind us as Christians, because there are plenty of Christians that claim to be Christians, but they don't have a good relationship with God. They don't know the word. They just know that God exists, or they say that God exists. And if you are in that boat, believe me, I understand. My best recommendation and best advice for you is to find a relationship with Him. But if you do not have that yet, do not be discouraged. And if you're hearing this and you don't believe that Christianity is a thing, or, you have hurt by other Christians judge you, other Christians do this, other Christians do that, I want you to know that being a Christian doesn't, and if people do this, and they do, being a Christian does not make you be up here and other people are down here. And other people are down here, if you can't hear me. But being a Christian does not make you level up higher than the rest of society, higher than your neighbor, higher than your friend, higher than your boyfriend, higher than your girlfriend, higher than your brother, sister. It does not make you higher. What it does is it's leveling you. When you understand the responsibility of being a real, true, devout, meaning having or showing deep religious belief, commitment, feeling. When you are a devout Christian, your job as a real, true Christian is to understand that you are no better than anyone else, that you are just having an established relationship with Jesus and God, and that is just you having the missing piece to life. And when you are true devout Christian, you want to share that with everyone. You don't want to push your beliefs on everyone where you are making them feel that they are wrong for having a different path. But you want to share the love and the joy that comes with being a Christian and having that missing piece in your life be fulfilled. I've seen and heard and been around Christians that judge, and that is not right of us. We can, in good established relationships, call each other higher to do better than what we are doing, but you have to be very careful as a Christian to not use that as a form of a weapon against anyone else. And I'm telling you right now, it happens a lot in this world, because Christianity is not, again, bringing you up higher on earth. Everyone is on the same playing field. You just have that missing piece. You have God in your life. You have Jesus renewing your spirit. And with that being said, it just means you have the tool belt where others do not. Don't you want them to have the tools to their life? Don't you want them to have the tools to equip themselves to build this, to go out and structure that in their life? That's what being a true Christian is about. It is not about judgment. It is not about looking down on others for not having that path be put out in front of them yet. Your job is to just love them. You are to love thy neighbor, love thy brother, love thy sister. It is written in the 10 Commandments of the Bible. It is written in the Bible. You do not have this superpower to just start being rude and hurtful to people because you claim Christianity. And I have seen this since I began my journey. And, as human beings, we judge. You have to know to do better because you are reading God's word, which is your law, which is your instruction manual. That's what you have to refer back to. You being a human, you're flawed. So if you do see Christians doing that, you do want to give them a pass if you can, because maybe they aren't fully understanding. But if you are a strong Christian, if I heard another Christian judging, I would call it out. We as Christians do not judge one another. We as Christians are to strengthen one another. We as Christians are not to knock anyone else down, but we are supposed to build them up, and never to force, beliefs on people and say, you're doing life wrong because you don't have Jesus. I'm saying to you that your life would be so much greater if you did have Jesus, but I will never force you to find that. I encourage you to find that, but it is your choice. God gives us the choice. My choice is Jesus. My choice is God. I would love for you to choose God and to choose Jesus because of how amazing and fulfilled I am. And it breaks my heart to know that there are people out there that use Christianity as this superiority, this self-righteousness. You can even see sometimes there are leaders and there are ministers or pastors that use that as weaponry against other types of people, against people. And they start to benefit and profit off of it. And I know that you probably have seen a couple of them online. There's plenty of people like that. I want you to know, if you have ever been hurt by a Christian, just know that that is not the right way of passage. The law says otherwise. We should never be doing those things. And especially if you have ever had church hurt too, where someone in the church hurt you. And that is, again, some sort of Christianity where they had hurt you or shamed you. That is not at all what Christianity is. It is love, light, purity, happiness, joy that I have never felt in my entire 26, now 27 years of life until I became a true Christian and read and got a relationship with God. And there will be plenty of times where I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk about God, but that's my platform is created on the basis of the love that He has provided for me. And I encourage you to hear it, and I encourage you to soak it up, and I encourage you to find that for yourself so you can have your own truth, like my truth, but in your own way, because I wear my cross every day as a sign of love and wearing my cross, meaning I am walking the hard path, wearing this cross on my back, not literally, but on my neck. This is a representation for me that I have faith, and my surrendering to God is the reason why I have this. You can find in the world that people will wear crosses just because they think it's cute. Do I look at them and spit on them for that opinion? No, absolutely not. I know what the true meaning of that cross is, and I wear it for that reason. And I don't judge those that don't, but I encourage and I pray for them, and I wish that they knew what they were wearing so that they could feel that love. And that's the importance of it all. I've said it multiple times today, but it's a feeling and this fulfillment, this joy that spreads everywhere. You're like literally Jesus renewing your spirit makes you see the world differently. I don't know, I just get so excited talking about it, but it is. It's a different reality when you have that love in the Father. His arms are wide open. He's waiting for you. He is always there for you and encourages you and gives you the direction that which you should lead your life so that you do not feel ashamed, that you do not feel like a sinner, that you do not feel like you are good enough. You are a sinner, but you can come to God and Jesus will renew your spirit. And it's an amazing thing, and that's why I think a lot of Christians get confused because they want everyone to see this, but they don't know how to give it graciously. And I hope that you found that this was given graciously to you. And if you do feel that way, I would love if you commented. I would love if you shared this. I would love if you messaged me even. Whatever you felt, if this was given graciously to you, which is my only true intention of Authentically Divine, is to give that authentic love. I said authentic, funny. That authentic divine love that spreads throughout me because God has given me that. So I really hope that today's message has reached you, and I love you. And I encourage you to set forth a new path for yourself the way that I have set it for me and my life. And thank you for being a valued and loved listener of Authentically Divine. Thank you so much. I hope everyone, and I pray that you do have a great week ahead. But thank you so much for listening. And again, this is your host, Alyssa Davis, and over and out.